The optimism and confidence of the first 40 years of Victorian reign were confirmed by the economic, political, and military success of Britain and the Empire. The Victorians were, rather arrogantly, convinced of their superiority and of their moral duty to export their language, culture, traditions to the uncivilized land of the Empire, after failing to realize that they were exploiting peoples, their land, and resources. In 1840, when the Chinese government attempted to put an end to the East India Company's illegal exportation of opium from India to China, which caused serious social and economic problems in China, war broke out. Britain won the war and China was obliged to cede Hong Kong and Shanghai. The Second Opium War was a continuation of the first. The British allied with France to open up the Chinese market to commerce and to allow free access to Christian missionaries. Despite Gladstone's efforts, Ireland was not given home rule during Victoria's reign. The nation suffered a devastating famine in the years from 1845-1847, caused by a failure of the potato crop among a population dependent on potatoes for survival. Hunger drove many thousands of Irish to emigrate to the Americas and Australia. The refusal of a home rule bill was to have terrible consequences in the future.
The Victorian Age saw the greatest splendor and extensions of the British Empire. Imperial expansions responded to commercial interests, gaining access to raw materials and new markets for its products. The empire also attracted British people seeking to escape from poverty in Britain. Between 1800 and 1940 millions of British people emigrated to Canada and Australia to seek their fortunes in an empire on which the sun never set. The celebrations for the 50th anniversary of Victoria's reign in 1887 included a gathering of representatives from all the Queen's overseas possessions. The wars gauged during this period were connected with the need to protect Britain's imperial interests. Pride in the nation's industrial and technological progress prompted Prince Albert to promote a great international exhibition, held in 1851 in a revolutionary glass and iron structure known as the Crystal Palace. The Great Exhibition of Works and Industry displayed some 100,000 exhibits from 15,000 contributors, and it was an immense success. This war was fought by Britain in alliance with France to halt the advance of the Russian Empire. Britain feared that Russia might retain Turkish control of the Dardanelles. Britain eventually won the war, though at a terrible cost in human lives. At the Battle of Balaclava, nearly all the British cavalry soldiers in the Light Brigade were killed. The terrible reality of war prompted Florence Nightingale to go to Crimea to nurse the soldiers, marking the birth of the nurse's profession.
The Indian subcontinent was one of Britain's most important possessions. The East India Company's destruction of the India cotton industry to favor British-made cotton goods caused major social unrest. This exploded in 1857 with the Indian Mutiny, in which the sepoys rebelled against their British commander. The revolt was quickly suppressed, and in 1857 the British government took over rule from the East India Company. From 1899 to 1902, Britain was at war with the South Africa provinces of the Orange and the Transvaal. South Africa's Cape of Good Hope had been colonized in the 17th century by the Dutch Boers. Britain had occupied the Cape during the Napoleonic Wars and had taken complete control of the Congress of Vienna. Many of the Boers had moved northward to establish two independent republics, the South Africa Republic and the Orange Free State. When the Boer republics were found to be rich in diamonds and gold, the Boers feared annexation and declared war. The war which followed gave Britain supremacy over the two republics. For most of Victoria's reign, women were educated to be good wives and mothers, but in the second half of the 19th century the mood began to change. Women began to emerge as a political force, and the first feminists began to campaign for the better education for middle-class women and eventually the vote.
The colonies of settlement attracted immigrants from Britain, who claimed the land and pushed the natives out. These were the first colonies to obtain dominion status, first Canada in 1867, then Australia and New Zealand in 1907. The growing costs of maintaining the empire and of defending its military and economic preeminence led to a trade depression in 1870. This affected the working classes in particular. The traditional political parties no longer satisfied the electorate, who began to look for more radical solutions. Socialism was one of the proposed remedies. It was based on the theories propounded by the German philosopher Karl Marx, whose theories about a new distribution of wealth had been elaborated in England. The Fabian Society, established in 1884, sought a gradual reform rather than revolution. The Fabian Society helped to organize the Labour Representation Committee, which later became the Labour Party. A pessimistic view of human existence was also encouraged by the application of Darwin's theory of natural selection to society. Social Darwinism, but not Darwin himself, affirmed that the life of humans in society was a struggle for existence, ruled by the survival of the fittest. The theory, first proposed by the British philosopher and scientist Herbert Spencer, served to justify laissez-faire capitalism and conservatism because it affirmed that inequality and poverty were natural.